You open a map app, type in a place that is barely 2 kilometers away, and the phone offers you a choice: walk 25 minutes or make the distance disappear. Tap once and a car comes. That convenience feels ordinary. But for most of human history, distance could not be deleted. It had to be crossed by a body. And that changes the question of why humans walk. Upright walking did not suddenly appear in East Africa 2 million years ago. Our ancestors had already been moving on 2 legs long before that. The more interesting change is what happened when a walking body became part of a larger survival system. Because a footprint is not just proof that someone moved. It can be the beginning of a supply chain. Imagine an unnamed early human in East Africa, somewhere within the long span between roughly 1.9 million and 800,000 years ago. The exact landscape, species, and behavior would have varied across that enormous window, so this is a bounded reconstruction, not a claim about every early human. The walker is moving across open ground with a useful stone in one hand. That stone matters, not because it is magical, not because it proves some grand technological revolution by itself. It matters because it came from somewhere, and it is going somewhere else. The first problem is simple. The useful things in a landscape are rarely arranged in one convenient pile. Water may be in one direction, edible plants in another. Animal remains, shade, stone, wood, and safer resting places can be scattered across distance. Information is scattered too. Tracks, weather, smoke, other groups, predators, changing conditions. All of it can be read while moving through the world. So walking is not merely locomotion. It is how separate patches of value become connected. But there is a mechanical problem hiding inside that sentence. A body can move efficiently only if balance, stride, heat, terrain, and load all cooperate. Early members of our genus show body proportions that, in broad terms, became better suited to sustained movement on the ground than those of earlier human relatives. That does not mean one perfect walking design suddenly appeared. Evolution is messier than that. But the basic trend matters. A body that can cover ground economically changes what kinds of landscapes can be used. And once distance becomes manageable, a second problem appears. What do you bring back? Our walker reaches a place where suitable stone can be found. The stone is not food. It cannot be eaten. Carrying it costs effort. So why move it at all? Because a useful object can have value somewhere else. A stone that can cut, pound, or process material becomes more useful if it travels to the place where the task will happen. This is one reason archaeologists care about the movement of stone raw materials. When stone appears far from its geological source, it can suggest that people were carrying useful material across landscapes rather than using only what happened to be under their feet. That evidence has limits. A transported stone does not tell us every decision, route, or social rule behind the movement. Researchers have to infer behavior from patterns, and different sites can support different interpretations. But the trace points towards something bigger. Walking can move value before the value is needed. Now the story changes. At first, the challenge looked like body mechanics. Can a human move efficiently across distance? But efficient movement is not enough if the hands, energy, timing, and route are already committed to carrying something. The walker turns back with the stone. And suddenly the same journey costs more. The load may be modest, but the principle is enormous. Once you carry one thing, you cannot carry everything. Once you choose one route, you may delay another task. Once you move farther from a known water source or resting place, the return matters as much as the outward trip. Distance is no longer empty space. It becomes a chain of decisions. This is where walking becomes more than a way to get from A to B. It starts organizing what can be combined. A moving body can scan while traveling. It can notice tracks, remember a patch of food, carry a tool, relocate material, return with information, or arrive where others are waiting. None of those actions requires a modern concept of exercise. They are parts of living, and they are linked by the same platform. Repeated movement through a landscape. There is another pressure in East Africa that matters here: heat. Humans are unusually capable of shedding heat through sweating, and later, human bodies show traits, often discussed in relation to movement through hot, open environments. Exactly how these traits evolved, and which behaviors drove them, remains debated. But the broader ecological point is safer. Moving through heat is not just about strong legs. It is about how the whole body manages temperature, water, pace, exposure, and distance. That means the walker's route has a clock, not a wristwatch, a body clock. Sunday, thirst, fatigue, shade, and the changing cost of getting back. The stone is still in the hand. Now imagine the late part of the route. The walker has crossed open ground. The carried object has survived the trip, and it finally reaches the place where it can be used. That is the payoff. The value of walking was never only that a body could travel farther. It was that movement could connect things that were separated. A useful stone from one place could meet a task somewhere else. Water could be reached, then left. Food patches could be visited in sequence. Observations made along a route could become knowledge carried back to others. The landscape stopped being a set of isolated points. It became something closer to a network. Not a planned road system. Not a modern economy. A living logistics system built out of feet, memory, hands, heat, and repeated routes. That is the deeper meaning of the footprint. A footprint records a step, but many steps, repeated across days and generations, can change what a group is capable of doing. This does not mean walking alone explains human evolution. It does not mean every early human traveled the same distances, carried the same objects, or lived in the same kind of landscape. And it certainly does not mean ancient life was healthier, simpler, or somehow better. It means that once upright walking became useful within a wider ecological system, movement could connect resources, tasks, and social life in ways that standing still could not. And that is very different from the way many of us experience movement now. Today, movement is often separated from the work of living. We sit to work, we tap to summon food. We drive to a place designed specifically so we can walk or run, then drive home again. That is an extraordinary gain in convenience. Distance no longer controls our choices as tightly as it once did. But the trade-off is subtle. Movement becomes optional. It becomes a category, exercise. A thing scheduled for 30 minutes instead of a platform underneath everything else. The ancient walker did not need to fit in a walk. The walk was the connection between one necessity and the next. And that brings us back to the map on your phone. The screen still says 25 minutes on foot. Nothing about that number is sacred. You do not need to romanticize it. You do not need to pretend that older lives were easier. But the number looks different now. Because for most of human history, a distance like that was not empty time between real activities. Crossing the distance was one of the real activities. A carried stone could change what happened at the other end. A route could link water, food, information, tools, and people. A footprint could be part of a logistics system. The screen goes dark, the phone slips into a pocket, and one foot moves forward.